a respected town official, a loving mother, a young boy with his entire future ahead of him. In the quiet town of Pawlet, Vermont, they were a family like any other, until one September evening when all three were found shot to death inside their home. Authorities arrived expecting a break-in, a robbery gone wrong, but nothing could prepare them for what they uncovered. The prime suspect? Someone no one expected. Someone who shared their last name. What led to this horrifying moment? And what really happened inside that house? Nestled in the picturesque landscape of Pawlet, Vermont, the Crossman family was emblematic of small-town American life. The family patriarch, Brian M. Crossman Sr., born on July 16, 1978, was a 46-year-old dedicated lineman for Green Mountain Power. His commitment to public service was evident through his recent election to the Pawlet Select Board in March 2024, where he served as a liaison to both the Buildings and Development and the Town Highway Department. Colleagues and community members frequently lauded Brian for his unwavering work ethic and genuine dedication to the town's well-being. In June 2024, Brian embarked on a new chapter in his personal life by marrying Erica D. Hewitt Crossman, a 41-year-old native of Rutland, Vermont, born on April 30, 1983. Erica was known for her warm demeanor and was a devoted mother to her 13-year-old son, Colin Taft, from a previous relationship. Colin was a bright and energetic teenager, deeply involved in his local community and school activities. He was particularly passionate about sports, often seen practicing basketball at the local court or participating in school soccer matches. Teachers and peers admired Colin for his enthusiasm, kindness, and the promise of a bright future ahead. The newly blended family took residence in the historic Crossman farmhouse, a property that had been in Brian's family for generations. Situated along Route 133, the farmhouse was more than just a dwelling. It was a testament to the family's enduring legacy in Pawlet. Brian and Erica dedicated themselves to restoring and modernizing the home, aiming to create a harmonious environment where past and present coalesced. Weekends were often spent refurbishing the aged barn, tending to the sprawling gardens, or hosting neighbors for evening barbecues. The couple's shared vision was to cultivate a sanctuary that honored tradition while embracing their fresh start together. However, beneath the surface of this idyllic family portrait lay complexities that hinted at underlying tensions. Brian Crossman Jr.'s brother's 23-year-old son from a prior relationship had a history marked by personal challenges. Family members recounted that Brian Jr. had long grappled with mental health issues, which had become more pronounced in recent years. Episodes of erratic behavior, including talking to himself and exhibiting unpredictable mood swings, had caused concern among relatives. Despite these challenges, efforts were made to include Brian Jr. in family activities, with the hope of fostering a sense of belonging and unity. In the days leading up to the tragic events of September 15, 2024, subtle signs of unease began to surface within the household. Erica confided in a family friend about her apprehensions regarding being alone with Brian Jr., especially when Brian Sr. was on call for work. She expressed concerns about her ability to protect herself and Colin, despite owning a pistol for safety. This unease underscored the fragile dynamics within the family, as they navigated the challenges of blending households and addressing mental health concerns. The Crossman story is a poignant reminder of the complexities that can exist beneath the surface of familial relationships. Their journey, marked by love, ambition, and unforeseen challenges, paints a vivid picture of a family striving for unity amidst adversity. The subsequent tragedy that befell them not only shattered their immediate circle, but also left an indelible mark on the tight-knit community of Pawlet, Vermont. On the morning of September 15, 2024, the Vermont State Police received a call reporting a suspicious person near Vermont Route 133 in Pawlet. Responding officers traced the concern to the residence of 46-year-old Brian Crossman Sr., a respected member of the Pawlet Select Board. Upon arrival, they discovered a scene that would forever alter the fabric of the community. Inside the home, authorities found the lifeless bodies of Brian Sr., his wife, 41-year-old Erica Paulusiak Crossman, and her 13-year-old son, Colin Taft. The Vermont Chief Medical Examiner's Office later confirmed that Brian Sr. had suffered gunshot wounds to the head and torso. Erica had been shot in the head, and young Colin had sustained multiple gunshot wounds. All deaths were ruled homicides. The initial investigation revealed an open gun safe with several weapons strewn about, suggesting a possible struggle or hurried actions. Authorities emphasized that this appeared to be an isolated incident, with no immediate threat to the broader community. However, the tranquility of Pawlet was irrevocably shattered, leaving residents grappling with the horrifying events that had unfolded in their midst. As the day progressed, the tight-knit community mourned the loss of a family known for their involvement and presence. Brian Sr.'s seat at the town hall was adorned with flowers, and a moment of silence was observed in his honor during the next select board meeting. The shockwaves of the tragedy left neighbors and friends in disbelief, struggling to comprehend the sudden and violent loss of 3 cherished lives. In the immediate aftermath, law enforcement agencies worked tirelessly to piece together the events leading up to the murders, seeking justice for the victims and answers for a community plunged into sorrow. The call came in at dawn. A suspicious person had been spotted near Vermont Route 133 in the small, quiet town of Pawlet. The area, known for its close-knit community and scenic rural charm, was no place for sudden, unexplained disturbances. Officers with the Vermont State Police responded, expecting a routine inquiry. Instead, they were led to a scene they would never forget. Inside the home of Brian Crossman Sr. and his family, 3 bodies lay motionless. 46-year-old Brian Crossman Sr., his wife, 41-year-old Erica Crossman, and her 13-year-old son, Colin Taft. All 3 had suffered fatal gunshot wounds. The house was eerily silent. No signs of forced entry, no broken windows, no ransacked rooms. Nothing about the scene suggested a robbery or an outside intrusion. This wasn't a random attack. This was something far more personal. For investigators, the crime scene painted a chilling picture. The positioning of the bodies, the precision of the gunshots. It all indicated an execution-style killing. But who would want this family dead, and why? Authorities immediately ruled out the possibility of a murder-suicide. There was no weapon found near any of the victims. Someone else had been in that house. Someone who walked in, pulled the trigger, and left. As law enforcement began piecing together the puzzle, they turned to the family's closest connections. Who was the last person to see them alive? Did they have enemies? Was there a history of domestic issues? Neighbors and friends described Brian Sr. as a hard-working, respected member of the Pawlet Select Board. He had no known enemies, no scandals, no personal disputes, at least none that anyone could recall. Erica, a dedicated mother, had recently married Brian Sr. and was devoted to her teenage son, Colin. By all accounts, they were a happy, blended family. So why would someone want them dead? Investigators combed through phone records, financial statements, and digital communications. That's when they found their first major lead. Someone in the family had a troubled past, one that was not widely spoken about in the town. Detectives turned their attention to 23-year-old Brian Crossman Jr., the son of Brian Sr. from a previous relationship. While Brian Jr. did not live with his father, he had recently been seen in the area. His name had not come up in initial conversations, but the more detectives looked into his whereabouts, the more their interest grew. When questioned, Brian Jr. appeared calm, too calm. His responses were short, calculated. He told police he had nothing to do with the murders and had not been near his father's home at the time of the crime. But his alibi wasn't airtight. Investigators analyzed surveillance footage from surrounding areas and found something that changed the course of the case. Brian Jr. had, in fact, been in Pawlet on the night of September 14th, just hours before the murders took place. When confronted with this information, his demeanor changed. Authorities dug deeper. They obtained a warrant for his phone and computer. What they found was disturbing. Brian Jr.'s internet history painted a chilling picture. In the weeks leading up to the murders, he had conducted multiple searches related to gun silencers, forensic techniques, and high-profile family homicides. He had browsed articles on how to avoid detection after committing a crime. Even more unsettling, he had visited forums discussing the psychological profiles of killers and unsolved murder cases. Investigators also discovered a series of private messages in which Brian Jr. expressed resentment toward his father and stepmother. Though not explicitly threatening, his words carried an undertone of anger, frustration, and, perhaps, a desire for revenge. But there was still one crucial missing piece: physical evidence. Then came the break they were waiting for. Authorities tracked Brian Jr. to Granville, New York, just across the state line. When they brought him in for further questioning, they noted inconsistencies in his timeline. His stories didn't match up. His phone records placed him near the Crossman residence on the night of the murders, despite his claims that he hadn't been there. Police executed a search warrant on his residence. What they found was damning. A bag containing dark clothing, gloves, and a firearm that ballistics testing later confirmed was the murder weapon. There was no denying it now. On September 20, 2024, Vermont State Police formally charged Brian Jr. with 3 counts of aggravated murder. He was arrested by New York State Police and held without bail. The once quiet town of Pawlet was in shock. How could a son commit such a horrific act against his own family? During his initial court appearance, Brian Jr. pleaded not guilty. He showed little emotion as the charges were read. Prosecutors argued that the evidence was overwhelming, that the crime was premeditated. The judge, taking into account the brutality of the murders, ordered him to be held without bail. But one question remained unanswered. Why? Investigators and legal analysts speculated on possible motives. Was it resentment? A financial dispute? A deep-seated grudge against his father and stepmother? Or something more chilling? An act of pure malice with no logical explanation. With no clear motive yet revealed, the case took on an eerie uncertainty. The community of Pawlet, once a place of safety and trust, was left searching for answers. How did a family's story end in such a brutal, unimaginable way? And was there something deeper in Brian Jr.'s past that no one had seen coming? As the trial looms, one thing is certain. The truth behind this tragedy is still unraveling, and the town of Pawlet will never be the same. As the investigation concluded and the charges were officially filed, the case against Brian Crossman Jr. moved swiftly into the legal system. The quiet town of Pawlet, Vermont, still reeling from the unimaginable loss, turned its attention to the upcoming courtroom battle, one that would attempt to provide answers to a deeply disturbing crime. On October 3, 2024, just weeks after the murders, Brian Crossman Jr. made his first court appearance in Rutland County Superior Court. The courtroom was silent as he walked in, shackled at the wrists, his expression blank. Across from him, a small group of grieving friends and family members sat, searching for an explanation that had yet to come. Through his defense attorney, Crossman Jr. pleaded not guilty to 3 counts of aggravated murder charges that, if convicted, could result in life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The prosecution wasted no time in outlining the severity of the case, arguing that the defendant posed a significant flight risk and that the sheer brutality of the killings warranted his detainment without bail. The judge agreed, ordering Crossman Jr. to remain in custody pending trial. This decision was met with a mixture of relief and frustration. While some saw it as a necessary step in ensuring justice, others, especially those who had once known Brian Jr. as a quiet and unassuming young man, struggled to comprehend how things had reached this point. Over the following months, prosecutors meticulously pieced together their case, relying on forensic evidence, witness testimonies, and digital records to establish a timeline of events. Authorities alleged that Brian Jr. acted alone, and while an official motive had yet to be disclosed, sources close to the case indicated that family conflicts, financial strain, and underlying psychological struggles were all being considered as potential contributing factors. Investigators examined Brian Jr.'s digital footprint, uncovering search histories, online conversations, and possible premeditation indicators. These findings, combined with the ballistic evidence, formed the foundation of the state's argument that this was not a random act of violence, but a planned and deliberate execution of his own family. The prosecution also cited statements from individuals close to the Crossman family, some of whom recalled past tensions and altercations between Brian Jr. and his father. These testimonies aimed to paint a picture of a troubled relationship that, according to the state, had escalated into something far more deadly. Meanwhile, Brian Jr.'s defense team pursued a different narrative. They challenged the idea of premeditation, suggesting that the killings may have been the result of an emotional breakdown or psychological distress. Rumors circulated that the defense may introduce expert testimony from forensic psychologists to explore whether Crossman Jr. suffered from mental health issues that could have impaired his ability to fully understand his actions. This raised the possibility of an insanity defense, a rarely successful but still viable legal strategy. Court filings revealed that defense attorneys requested access to medical records and past psychiatric evaluations, hinting at a potential argument that Brian Jr. was not in his right mind at the time of the killings. As the legal battle intensified, the case hit a major roadblock. In late 2024, attorneys on both sides submitted motions for additional discovery, delaying the timeline of the trial. By early 2025, it became clear that the case would not be resolved quickly. Preliminary hearings stretched on for months, with the defense challenging aspects of the evidence collection process and attempting to suppress certain pieces of digital evidence on the grounds of privacy violations. By mid-2025, jury selection was tentatively scheduled for early 2026, meaning the trial itself would not begin until at least February 2026. For the families of Brian Sr., Erica, and Colin, this news was another painful setback. Many in the community expressed frustration with the delays, fearing that as time passed, public attention on the case would fade, and with it, the pressure to ensure a just resolution. As the months pass and Brian Crossman Jr. remains in custody, the people of Pawlet continue to grapple with the unanswered question, why? With the trial now set for 2026, the wait for justice is far from over. What will the jury decide? Will new details emerge? And perhaps the most chilling question of all, is there more to this story than meets the eye? The tragic deaths of Brian Crossman Sr., his wife Erica, and her son Colin Taft sent shockwaves through the tight-knit community of Pawlet, Vermont. As news of the tragedy spread, the town grappled with profound grief and disbelief. In the days following the incident, the Pawlet Select Board held its scheduled meeting, leaving Brian's seat adorned with flowers and a handwritten place card bearing his name. Chairperson Mike Beecher addressed attendees, stating, Brian Crossman was a friend and neighbor, a hard-working community member who just this year stepped up to join the Pawlet Select Board. This tragedy that struck him and his family has also hit our community hard, and we are shaken and grieving. Our hearts go out. Neighbors and friends remembered Brian as a dedicated public servant and a hard-working individual. One neighbor expressed, "It's hard to even make sense of what happened," highlighting the community's struggle to comprehend the loss. The community's mourning extended beyond official meetings. Residents organized memorials and vigils, offering support to one another during this challenging time. The tragedy not only claimed the lives of 3 beloved individuals, but also left an indelible mark on Pawlet, a town now united in grief and resilience. 3 lives were lost that night in Pawlet, Vermont. A father, a mother, a child. Gone in an instant. The arrest of Brian Crossman Jr. sent shockwaves through the community, leaving neighbors and loved ones grappling with the same unanswerable question, why? What could have driven a son to commit such an unimaginable act? Was it long-standing resentment, something hidden beneath the surface? Or is there more to the story than we've been told? As the legal proceedings unfold, one thing remains certain. Nothing will ever bring back Brian, Erica, or Colin. Their memory now rests in the echoes of a town left in mourning, in the candlelight vigils, in the quiet streets where life will never feel quite the same. But now, I want to hear from you. What do you think led to this tragic crime? Was there something we missed? Something that could have prevented this from happening? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this case as shocking as we did, don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps the channel. And if you want to uncover more stories just like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and remember, sometimes the most unthinkable crimes happen in the places you'd least expect it.